Hey Andy, thank you for coming in to talk with us and for being an ally to the Chrysalis Centre. Could you explain your role and your connection with the Chrysalis Centre?
Yeah, sure. My name's Andy Vint. I historically used to be a builder, and then I had a complete change of career and went working in young people's services. I now manage those services at a local council, and my link to this centre here is that I'm the chairperson. I also have connections with the staff, people that have lived close to me, and also my wife works here as well, which is always handy to have.
Yeah, that's great. Why is it important to you personally to be involved with a charity like this?
Well, I've always believed in giving something back, and I think we are in unprecedented times. We've never experienced the pandemic. We've never experienced mental health on the rise like we do in this day and age. And I think it's just so important for us to connect with people to help them through life's journeys, wherever that stage may be. For this type of charity, it's particular for women and that domestic violence, empowering women, strong women, those kind of courses that come through it. And I just think it's pivotal. What they say is behind every good man is a strong woman, and that is really true.
Yeah. So can you give us a brief explanation if you've experienced anything to do with mental health or domestic abuse?
Yeah. I recently went through depression, which caught me completely off guard. I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't connect things. I felt lost. And that was a real pivotal point for me, a really dark part of my life. And domestic violence, I've experienced that at a very, very young age, very early on in my childhood, when my parents weren't kind of connecting how they should have done. So I think, those two key areas have been my experiences up to this point.
Yeah. And they're important to you, and that's why you're a part of this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So do you feel that, obviously you're a man, do you feel that other men in society talk enough about mental health?
It's a good question. And I think the last time that I kind of went through that soul searching, that deep void that I was talking about in depression, one of the key things that came out for me was that I didn't validate my emotions. So for me as a bloke, things were always kind of straight line or horizontal. There was no kind of spaghetti-like connections and interwoven and all that kind of stuff. It was very much in straight lines, my way of thinking. And it was in understanding that I wasn't validating my feelings that I recognised that I wasn't able to talk about them as a man. So I think, coming to terms with accepting what your feelings are and what they might be doing and being able to validate them for what they are and to go through the process with them really helped me to connect into that side. So I think for men, particularly, because I wouldn't say we're not in tune with our emotions, sometimes we tend to discard them very easily. And not, go through that process of validating things. So for me, I think that's probably one of the main key areas that came up for me. And I'm sure there's other guys like that as well.
Yeah. Do you think it's possibly because of the way that men get brought up in our society? They have the social constructs of being strong, being the provider, being tough.
That goes all the way back, doesn't it? It goes all the way back to the provider and all through history. That's kind of been the design fault of all the societies that have come after it. Men don't cry, it's weakness, it's this, it's that. For me, I can watch a cartoon and end up weeping with the kids. The kids are betting on when I'm going to cry. So I think in this day and age, not so much. And I think, men are getting much more in tune with what what's going on around us, and rightly so. You know, women deserve their place in society to be alongside men.
Yeah.
You know, not beneath, not over, but you know, we're meant to be beside each other.
Yeah.
And for me, I think men are getting better at that, but equally, you know, as all things, change takes time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly. As a charity dealing with women, we get asked, "What about the men?" And what would you respond to that?
it's a fair question. I think we as a whole, when we set up, we were really kind of focused on women. There was a lot out there of domestic violence, abuse, and there was high levels of, in particular, for women. As we're going into this new season, as it were, for the Chrysalis, there are avenues that we may need to consider to add on to the great work that we're already doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say watch this space.
Yeah.
There is definitely hope for us to expand and to kind of what's the word? Where you take one thing and you kind of present it in a similar way. You duplicate.
Oh yeah.
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 For us to duplicate, that was the word I was looking for. Duplicate this service and what it can do for women to men and what it can do for men.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one I've got for you is, how can we as a society encourage men to talk about mental health more?
Oh, wow, that's a really, really hard one. And I think people's partners can be key.
Yeah.
I know my wife was key in asking good questions that helped to invoke me and challenge me about what my feelings were actually at that time. I think for men, I think having someone strong by your side can make the difference if you open up to them and be vulnerable to them and allow them that access. Yeah. So yeah, I think having a strong relationship with someone, they say in my line of work, connection before correction. You know, and having that connection is absolutely critical. Yeah. So that's what I would say to that.
Fantastic. That's everything I've got for you. So thank you very much for talking to me today.
No worries.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.